Okay. When we talk about Scrum Master is a framework. It's an agile framework.
Okay.
And the many agile framework, you have extreme programming, you have Kanban, and you have Scrumban, the many other framework which are agile. Now,
Okay.
agile simply means that it's flexible, lightweight, make easy. So it's Scrum, it's a mindset. It's not a methodology, right? Which means that it's a way of thinking. You can flexibly adapt that way of thinking. I'm going to explain Scrum like this. Like, how can you explain Scrum to someone that is not learning?
Okay.
Scrum is more like you go to the barber shop and you need a haircut. And the barber starts cutting your head. And you say, you know what? I changed my mind. I want this side to be lower than what I initially said. And then the barber brings it lower. And then you look at it in the mirror and you say, okay, this is good. But can you kind of put about 2 lines here on the side? And you put it and you say, okay, can you take, so it's a feedback. It's a process where you can see what is going on and you can be able to give suggestions in real time. Unlike in a process where you don't have the opportunity to give feedback until the end. Let's say you go to the barber shop and you point the type of hairstyle that you want on the picture. And then you cannot give any comment until the barber finishes, right? Now, that's the way projects are being done. You come and you say, okay, I want this software. You sign a contract with the developer, right? And then the developer can say, give me 8 days. 8 days he works on and he delivers your software. And it's after 8 days that you will see it. And if there's a mistake, you call the guy and say, oh, there's a mistake, you need to feed it back. You send it back again to him. Maybe it takes about other 8 days to work on it, right? That's the normal way we've been executing projects. But Agile comes in and say, you know what? You don't have to wait until the end of the work is done to look at, to examine if they did it right or not. What about you get feedback every day, every week, every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks for a project of 8 months, 9 months? So for you to be able to get feedback every 2 weeks, now what we do is that, what Agile does is that, Agile asks the developer to say, break down the work into small increments on how you can deliver something that we can see that you're working, right?
Okay.
So in that case, the Agile team break down a very large portion of work that maybe need about a year to be completed into segments of 2 weeks. And now it is allowable to break it in segments of 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, maximum 1 month.
Okay.
But most companies adopt 2 weeks.
Okay.
So which means that if our goal was to build this computer and it takes 1 year to build this computer, we want to give a report every 2 weeks.
Okay.
So we'll come and say, okay, what is the first thing we can do that we can show to our customer that we're actually working? Maybe we can start with a keyboard, right?
Yeah.
And we design the first 5 keys. We can do that within 2 weeks. We show the customer, hey, 2 weeks, this is what we designed. That's what is called an increment.
Okay.
And now Scrum says that for us to be effective in doing that kind of work, there is someone who is a facilitator, right? That's a Scrum Master.
Yeah.
There is someone who is going to represent the customer, which means that any requirement from the customer to the development team comes through that person. And every feedback from the development team to the customer go out through that person. That person is called the product owner. And now there are people who are doing the work. They are called developers. So the 3 key roles in Scrum.
Okay, the product owner, the Scrum Master, the facilitator, and the developer.
Yeah, the product owner, the facilitator who is the Scrum Master, and then the developers. Okay. That's the baseline of Scrum. So
Okay.
Scrum works on values, right?
Okay.
It works on trust, which means that I need to trust that you will do your work. I need to trust that the developer will do their own work. So although we are working on a team, there is no head of team, right? So although you are the Scrum Master, you're not the chief of the team.
Okay.
You're just facilitating.
Mhm.
Although we have a product owner, he doesn't give command. Although we have the developer, there's no senior developer, there's no junior developer, everyone sits in a round table, right?
Yeah.
And the pillars that are helping us to sit on one table: transparency, inspection, adaptation. We want to make sure that everyone sees what they are doing. And how do we make sure that we inspect and we adapt every day, right?
Yeah.
And then, which means that we need to work on specific value that will help us to build trust. Commitment, every person is committed. Yes, I'll do it. Every person is focused because we are defining work within 2 weeks. Every person is open with respect, and every person is courageous, which means that if I see Mr. Serge, you're a developer, and maybe you have 10 years of developing experience, and I'm also a developer, I have just 1 year of experience, and you definitely are not giving me an opportunity, I should be able to say, hey, Mr. Serge, I know you have a lot of experience, but I think I also have a say, all right? Round table.
Yeah.
Trust. Okay. And then we just spoke about the Scrum team. So everyone.
Excuse me. What you just said, is it a characteristics of a Scrum team?
No. There are 3 pillars of Scrum.
Okay, 3 pillars of Scrum.
Transparency, inspection, and adaptation.
Okay.
There are 5 values of Scrum: commitment, focus, openness, respect, and courage.
Okay.
So the pillars of Scrum and the commitment help us to build a team that is trustworthy.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the Scrum team is also called the Agile team. So you hear Scrum team, Agile team is the same thing.
Yeah.
The product owner, the Scrum Master, and the developer. The developer, Scrum advisor, more than 10 people should not be in the development team. But can we have more than 10 people? Yes. It's just a guideline. That's why I say it's a mindset, which means that it gives you the guideline. This is the best way. And it says that only one Scrum Master and only one product owner. Why only one product owner? Because he wants to ensure that information that's going in and out is accurate. If 2 people are sending out information, what happened? They might be mixed up.
Okay.
And because we are delivering every 2 weeks, we need accuracy of information.
Okay.
And the facilitator is different from the product owner because it's more like an observer. You want to see what the team is doing. You want to see if they're going within the rules of Scrum. So you as a Scrum Master help them to work within the framework of Scrum. So you facilitate, you coach, and you teach them the framework. 3 things you do. So Scrum help you to build it fast. Why is it fast? Because, as I just explained, let's imagine we had to build a product within 8 months, and the customer only see it within 8 months. What if the customer doesn't like it? He cancels and you take another 8 months to build. But Scrum said no. We encourage collaboration. So every 2 weeks, let's meet and see what you're doing. And if I have any feedback, I give it in. So in that case, what's going to happen? Within the period of 8 months, the customer will be satisfied because the customer has been part of the process from the start. Every 2 weeks, we are meeting. Okay. Now, within the Scrum, we have what is called Safe Scrum Master, right?
Yeah.
So Scrum Master or professional Scrum Master simply means ability to manage a team using Scrum. Safe Scrum Master, which is a certification that we are taking, means that you don't only manage a team, but you know how a team operates in a bigger enterprise. So that is why when you look at jobs, they will say we need someone with a Safe Scrum Master certification. What's the difference? The key difference between Scrum and Safe Scrum is PI planning. Okay. Now, PI planning is planning at the level of the organization. So if you work in a safe environment, it means that you also assist the management or the solution team in planning the work that will be done. So you don't only manage a team.
Okay.
But your role as a Scrum Master is to work with a team. But in a safe environment, you also participate in program increment planning. Program increment simply means that the team meets every 8 to 12 weeks and plan our work that will be done 8 to 12 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And it means that although you are working as a Scrum Master in an organization, there are many other Scrum teams. So the teams need to meet to collaborate and to enable that everything they are doing is in alignment. Let's take, for instance, Apple company, for instance, right?
Yeah.
There are many teams within the Apple company. All of them might be working on the next Apple release, which is maybe iPhone 14, right?
Yeah.
And then all of these teams need to meet and plan what they want to see. They meet with the manager, they meet with all the stakeholders and maybe some customer, and they brainstorm on what exactly they want to see.
Yeah.
In what they call program increment. Why is it a program increment? Because it's building from something that is already there.
Okay.
Yes, but if it was, let's say iPhone 1, it's still called program increment because they want to continuously build. So they can come and maybe the CEO of Apple say, hey, this is what we are thinking. And then they say, okay, based on what the vision is, what can we do within the next 10 weeks? So program increment plan ideally within 10 weeks, but between 8 and 12 weeks is allowable.
Okay.
In some companies, you might not be opportune to participate in program increment because the solution architects can do that, right? Because program increment means that you bring all the different teams together in one place. Some companies do not want to spend that way, so they hire a team called the solution architect to do that. But you as a sales Scrum Master need to understand how a program increment is run. Program increment is a 2-day event where we plan all the work in the organization, and your role as a Scrum Master is that you work with your team and organize your team to contribute to that bigger goal. And then after every breakout, you meet now with other Scrum Master and the release train engineer. The release train engineer is like the Scrum Master of the Scrum Master, right? The chief Scrum Master, I might say, put it like that. Okay. So the layer of in Safe Scrum, we have the delivery, which is the Agile team, right?
Yeah.
Right here. We have the delivery, we have the program, we have the portfolio. Now, delivery simply means that these are the people that are doing the work, and you work with one of the delivery team, which is your Scrum team. The person that is managing all the delivery team is called the release train engineer. And the release train engineer, everyone within the Scrum, all the Scrum team are called the release Agile release train. So Agile release train is a team of people collaborating together to build a program increment. So your team is part of the Agile release train. Team B, Team C, Team D. So look at it like this concept. Now, Agile release train, remember if you look at the train has different wagon, right?
Yeah.
But it is all moving towards one direction. So it's called Agile Release Train because although there are different teams in the company, all of them are moving towards the vision of the company.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the program team at a high level kind of plan different program, which means that you might be working on a specific program, but within that same company, there might be many other programs.
Okay.
The portfolio level is at a higher level. People that negotiate to see if I want to sell this company, we want to split it, I want to buy another company to put it, that's a higher level.
Yeah.
All right. So, and now you see, anyway, let me not do that. Okay, now, the Agile Release Train, which is what? You, and as a Scrum Master and your team, and many other people in the company, this is like your focus, right?
Yeah.
The Agile Release Train focus on PI planning. Scrum Master focus on team management. Agile Release Train focus on PI planning, program increment planning. Is that difference clear?
Yeah.
So all of these people are Scrum Master, Scrum Master, Scrum Master, Scrum Master, right?
Yeah.
Every Scrum Master has his own team. All of these people are product owner. Every product owner has his own team, right?
Yeah.
So you see that this is a higher level. They are called the Agile Release Train. Now, if all of these people have a meeting, what are they going to do? They go back to their
Various team.
They go back to their various team. In their various team, they are called what? The Agile team.
Yeah. Agile team.
When they come to the level where they are meeting with other Scrum Master at a higher level and they're planning program increment, they are called Agile Release Train.
Okay.
Is the difference clear?
Yes.
Okay. So the Agile Release Train take care of the PI planning.
Okay.
And then when they do all the planning, they come out with what they call the system demo, which means it's a demonstration of, hey, we've planned this work that we want to achieve within 3 weeks. This is
Okay.
the demonstration of what we want to see.
Okay.
Yes. All right. Now, whether you are within the Scrum team or within, we always inspect and adapt. It's a key principle in Scrum, inspect, adapt, in order to enable what? Transparency. Inspect, adapt so that we can have transparency. Inspect, adapt so we can have transparency. 3 pillars of Scrum: inspect, adapt, transparency. This you need to know to your fingertips. All right. Now, within the Scrum cycle, this is what happened. You start with your planning, right?
Okay.
After they have planned all the work at a higher level, PI planning, they distribute now what each team will do. So, and the person who distribute it is called the release train engineer. The release train engineer say, okay, team A, you focus on this. Team B, you focus on this. Team C, team D. So you as team A, you come back with your team. What do? You plan now what you will do in your iteration. Iteration, what's the duration of iteration? Many companies adopt 2 weeks. The maximum allowable by Scrum is 1 month, but you can also have 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month. But the main choice you focus on is that what? It's a cycle. If it's 2 weeks, it always has to be 2 weeks.
Okay.
Immediately one is finishing, one is taking off. So when you plan, after you plan, the rest of the day, you do daily stand-up where you inspect and adapt. At the end of the 2 weeks, you do iteration review, which is to review what you're doing, you have done, and you have your stakeholders look at it as well, give feedback. And then you sit back as a team to look at how well you perform.
Okay.
To look at how well you perform. Then you have now, now iteration retro and iteration review, they happen like almost the same thing. No. Iteration review, this is backlog refinement. Retro is where you sit as a team to see how well you have done. Refinement is when you review, let's say, I build a part, I come to the backlog or the iteration review, I present to stakeholders, and stakeholders say, oh no, we want to also see this feature. Now, the reason why backlog refinement comes is that what? We're going to add that to the work that we are doing. Then before we examine, we plan again. So it's a cycle.
So what goes to the backlog is maybe any addition or any addition when you present your product to the stakeholder, and they said, okay, they want more of this, or they want you to add this, and since you could not go back to alter it, you put it as
you put it as a backlog. Perfect. Okay. And then you plan again.
Okay.
But before you ever start planning, you have a backlog, which is the list of all the things you do. The reason why you allow for inspect and adapt, because requirements might constantly be changing. After each review, you might have new requirements. You put them back in the backlog, you plan, you do. That's why you always have to refine your backlog based on the requirements that are changing.
So if I may understand, when you do the sprint planning, you go to daily stand-up. The daily stand-up is just the 15 minutes stand-up that you come together to talk on what you guys have planned.
Yeah.
Then before you go now to the review for the stakeholders to review it.
Yeah. Okay, so review come after the end of the sprint. So let's say end of the iteration. Let's say it's 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
You do the planning within the first day. You start your sprint. Every day you inspect, adapt. When your 2 weeks finishes, now you've already completed the work that you planned.
So, excuse me, when you are doing the inspection, adapting, and planning for the 2 weeks, you are equally doing the daily stand-up during the period, right?
Okay, now this is what happened, right?
Yeah.
Take, for example, we want to build this phone.
Yeah.
First thing we do is that we gather all requirements. That's your backlog.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, the first thing after we have the backlog ready, we need to plan.
Yeah.
Planning meeting for 2 weeks sprint is 4 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll come and sit and we'll plan that, okay, we know that this one is going to take us 8 months, but we want to look at what we can do within 2 weeks. Okay. So the development team with the expert say, okay, the best thing to do is to start the frame of the phone.
Okay.
So we are going to go to the to-do list and pull out activities that will help us to build the frame.
Okay.
That from our sprint backlog.
Okay.
So we move from the product backlog to the sprint backlog. Okay. So the sprint backlog is the list of things that we are going to do, we are going to build within that 2 weeks, right?
Yeah.
Then immediately we have them and developers are working on it. Every day is a daily stand-up to give us, okay, yesterday I was working on this, today I'm working on this. I have a problem because the frame I'm going to use, the material is not enough, I need more material. You as a Scrum Master note that down. And then if you need to help them get it, maybe send an email to the manager, we need this, you send that. But then the product owner, maybe the product owner was not in the meeting, you can put a note and say, product owner, we need more clarity on XYZ. But then what you also do is that you encourage all your team members to also collaborate with product owner, right?
So when you are doing the daily stand-up, the product owner is also involved?
Yeah, the product owner is also involved. Now, it's compulsory for all developers.
Okay.
Product owner is optional, but in most cases, he's encouraged to be there so that he can provide clarity. Okay. You as a Scrum Master, you're also encouraged to be there. It's not compulsory that you're supposed to be there, but you're always there because you want to help your team, right? Yeah. So after 2 weeks, when you have built all the to-do lists from the spring backlog, what happened? You do a review. A review of what you have done within 2 weeks.
Okay.
You present to the stakeholder, this is what we have built. And the stakeholder now gives their feedback. So if they make any changes, backlog refinement kind of go in here, right?
Yeah.
But just take off this backlog refinement. It's not even supposed to be within this cycle because it's done as needed.
Okay.
Even within the daily stand-up, you will realize that we are missing something, and we contact the customer and they provide it. We put it back in the backlog, so it's as needed. So from here, we move directly to year.
So you cannot, as you are still in the planning stage, and there is something that you are missing, or what the product owner wants you to add, you cannot just quickly adjust and put. Since you are still in the planning stage, you cannot put it there. You must only go to the backlog and put there.
Yeah, you have to put it first in the backlog, from the backlog before you add it in.
Okay.
Now, because the backlog is the base of everything that you want to build.
Okay.
So if you constantly adding without adding to the backlog, we'll not be able to see what was there and what is coming in and out.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. I got it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything goes back to the backlog.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, even if you want to add, you must go to the backlog before you take it out from there.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Now, this is similar to what I explained here, right? Okay. The different layers. Here, it's just presented in a more complicated way, right? But if you see right here to my right, you will see essential, right?
Yeah.
The essential layer is the layer where you interact as a Scrum Master and you build in a quality increment right here.
Okay.
The solution layer is where, see here, is where the release system train engineer, all of them, they plan out all the work here. Now, this is at the higher level of a solution.
Okay.
And this is where I was saying that right here, some companies might just say, hey, the solution layer, plan out all the work and deploy down here. And they might not need you to come and participate in PI planning.
Okay.
But the reason you should know PI planning is because smaller companies do PI planning and they need you to participate and help them.
Okay.
And the reason you should also know it is because you want to grow your career to a release trained engineer. So you want to start learning how to grow to the top.
Okay.
Now, portfolio is all the CEOs at a bigger level.
So, excuse me, it's only the safe Scrum Master that can play the role of the release trained engineer, right?
Yes, only safe Scrum. Normal Scrum, you don't need that.
Okay.
Yes. That can assist the release trained engineer in the PI planning. When you start hearing about program increment planning, know that this is safe.
Okay.
Safe simply means that apart from you just playing the role of a Scrum Master, you also can interact in a bigger setting with other teams and help out.
Yeah, and you can be can you be Scrum or Scrum Master? That is
no. You cannot be, you are just a Scrum Master. So you can, a Scrum of Scrum is someone who has a higher level of release. So you can go through that certification, a release trained engineer certification.
It's a different certification.
Yes, it's a different certification.
So where you interact with other teams, you are just one of the release trained engineer, right?
No, you are the Scrum Master. You are not even release trained is a person that supervises other Scrum Master.
Yeah, the Scrum or Scrum Master, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah. So it means that if among all the teams that comes together, you are representing your own team. Let's say there are a group of 10 teams.
Yeah.
They pull out all the Agile Scrum Masters together.
Yes.
to represent your teams.
Yes.
So in a group of that 10 of Agile Scrum Masters, you have now a Scrum Master that supervise this Agile Scrum Master.
And that Scrum Master is the release train engineer.
The release train engineer.
And all the Scrum Masters, all the 10 Scrum Masters form the release train, Agile release train.
Okay, Agile release train.
Yes. This is right here, Agile release train. All the Scrum Master and their team are the Agile release train. Then the release train engineer is like a chief.
Okay.
That's coordinating.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I get it now.
Okay, perfect. Now, we've already captured all of the events as we're discussing above.
Okay.
So now we just want to break it down in a more clearer way.
Okay.
So Scrum has 4 main events. And the maximum length through which a sprint can take place is 1 month. Not more than
maximum.
1 month.
Okay, it's a maximum. Okay.
Yeah, the maximum is 1 month.
Yeah.
And in 1 month, it advised that the sprint should not be more than 8 hours, which means that if the length of your sprint or iteration is 2 weeks, then you should be implementing in what, 4 hours?
4 hours.
So your planning should not be more than 4 hours in a 2 weeks sprint cycle.
Okay.
Now you see here, backlog refinement as needed, right?
Yeah.
Anytime you need update as needed. In my company, we do it once every 2 weeks.
Okay.
Now, in here, daily stand-up is a 15-minute meeting that happens immediately you launch your sprint planning. Every day, 15 minutes. And the 15 minutes, the developer are the one talking, not you.
Okay. Okay.
You say,
what
hey,
they did yesterday, what they are currently working, and
what they did yesterday, what they will be working on today if they have any challenge.
Okay.
But you, the Scrum Master, don't stand up and say, oh, Mr. Peter, what did you do yesterday? You just say, hey, Mr. Peter, any update for us?
Yeah.
So they can say, oh, I don't have any update. And now if they say they don't have any update, you as a Scrum Master just need to note that down and maybe pull them on the side at the parking lot after the meeting and say, hey, Mr. Peter, what happened? Are you not working on something or other stuff, right? Yeah. You don't want to kind of, oh, why you don't, you want to respect their opinion.
Yeah.
The goal of the sprint is just for them to give their update. It's not for you to question who is right or wrong.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, now, you mean the goal of the stand-up, daily stand-up?
Yes, the goal of the stand-up.
Okay.
Yes. Now the review, at the end of the review, let's say if they started the sprint on Tuesday, it means, and it's a 2-week sprint, it means before the 4th Tuesday, you do your review, your sprint review on Monday.
Okay.
Yeah. So you do it on Monday, and Tuesday again, you start planning.
Planning.
Yes. When you do it on Monday, which is now here, you invite stakeholders. Stakeholder give their feedback.
To review what was done 1 week ago, what was done in a week, 1 week ago.
You review all the work that you plan.
Okay.
Or if you want to speak in the Scrum language, you review the increment.
Increment. Okay. Okay. Yes. The increment. Yeah.
So you review the increment and then you release it. You release it to the release train engineer.
So when you review, when they review that and some adjustment, those adjustment goes to the backlog refinement.
That's right. They go back to the backlog.
And it cannot be released yet, right?
Yeah. No, it cannot be released.
Until
only what is completed can be released.
Released. Okay.
Yeah.
When they say it's released, it means that it's ready to start working on, right?
No, when they say it's released, it means that, let's say we are building the phone and they accepted the frame, we are done with it. So we're not coming, it means we are finished with that part of the work. We can move on to the next part.
Let me clarify something. Let me ask and have clarification on something.
Yeah.
When you say, because it got me confused when you say when you release means that you're done with the. We are taking an example of the phone means we are done with the back of the phone. So when you say this the sprint planning, I thought it was still at the level of what to do list to what we are going to do, and now. So when you plan that, you immediately just start working on it.
Yes, when you
For the
plan,
week.
you immediately start working on it.
Okay, for that week. Okay, for that week before the following Tuesday, you've already worked on that. Then present it on on Monday before the following Tuesday.
Yeah. So when we plan, let's say
Oh,
we
wow.
plan work today, immediately they start working on it. So the daily Scrum is to inspect what we are working, is to give update on what we
okay.
are working on, the progress.
Okay, in my own understanding was that maybe we plan come and let's present it for them to see what we've planned
No.
before when they release everything before we start building on.
No.
Okay.
Yes. It's called Scrum is called a self-organized or self-sufficient team because you believe that they are expert, they can do it.
Okay.
So the only place where we invite the customer is when we want to show them what
we've done.
Yes.
Okay. So immediately as you start planning, you are building for that week.
Yes. You immediately you finish planning, you start building.
Wait, you plan for 8 hours, they start building immediately.
No, 8 hours is the maximum, and if your cycle is 1 month.
1 month, you plan for
no.
You plan for 8 hours if it's 1 month.
If it's 1 month.
4 hours. For 4 hours if it's 2 weeks.
Yes. Now that is a maximum. That means you cannot exceed, which means that even if you plan and you're done within 30 minutes, you're good to go, right?
Yeah.
So the reason we have time box in Scrum is to make sure that we don't spend all days in meetings.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, you plan that you start building in, that you after a week you present it, you do the review.
Let's say after 2 weeks, take a 2 weeks cycle. Yeah.
Yeah. You do a review with the stakeholders.
Yes.
If they accept it, they release it.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
Okay. Then the retrospective is just for the Agile team or the Scrum team to sit back and say, okay, what did we do? How can we improve? So it's based on all the feedback, everything, all the collaboration. They just sit and evaluate themselves and see what they can improve.
Okay. The retrospective is based on feedback.
Yeah, it's just for team to have a personal time, learn and grow.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is like how the working environment happen, right?
Yeah.
All the work that needs to be done is placed in a backlog. Right?
Yeah.
Right here. When we start planning, we take out a couple of items out from this main backlog. This is what we want to build.
Okay.
And this is called a spring backlog. You see? Yeah.
Okay.
Now the spring backlog has a couple of different items that we want to build and test.
Okay.
So you might have more than one release in the spring, which means that you can build the frame, you can build a charging port, you can build a screen, you can build a motherboard, depending on what the team can do.
Okay, and I'm presenting in one sprint.
Yes.
Okay.
And then what happened? In our daily stand-up, we inspect and adapt, right?
Okay.
Execution, that means 80 to 85% of the time we're executing, we're building. That's why every day you only come in for a 15-minute meeting and you let the developer go. So you as a Scrum Master, you probably have days that you'll just be sick. After a stand-up meeting, there's nothing much to do. Just sit and unless you have a message for someone and need this.
Yeah.
Yes.
You are just like a liaison. You are just liaising between the developers and the product owner and the stakeholders.
Yes.
Okay.
So you see here that towards the end of the spring, we have built this increment, potential shippable increment. Increment means it is part of the system. It's not a whole system. Now, it's what now we have viewed that we come and we review during the spring review, right?
Yeah.
The spring review with the customer is still inspecting and adapting. So the whole concept of Scrum is on relentless improvement, which is inspect, adapt, improve. Inspect, adapt, improve. Spring retrospective, the team is inspecting. How did we do? Was there enough communication? How can we work better as a team? And then they go back again, repeat the cycle.
Okay, you go back to the backlog and get the next piece.
Yes, and start planning back.
And start planning back.
Yes.
Okay, let's say if we get, okay, we are building a phone. If we get the back of the phone, the screen, and maybe the charger, we have to go through the cycle until we finish. Then we'll go back to the backlog and see what is left to be.
Maybe the motherboard, maybe the camera, and then pick that, build, release.
So all of that are done in two weeks time, right?
Yes.
So and it's planned maybe for a year, depending on the kind of product we are building.
Yeah, the product lifespan itself is variable, right? That's why you may see some Scrum project, they say 4 months contract, 6 months contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And we spoke already about a sprint.
Yeah.
Sprint maximum length is 1 month.
Yeah.
But you can also have 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But the standard for many companies
is 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Okay. And a sprint, as I said, if you start on a Tuesday, you do your review on a Monday. That's why we have N-1.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Now you also see this. Maximum is 8 weeks for a 1 month sprint. But you see here, what are the topics that are discussed in the sprint? Why is this sprint valuable? We build a goal, sprint goal. What can be done during this sprint? What can we do? How we will do it? So it's planning, okay, what to do and how to do it. So a sprint is guided by a sprint goal, right?
Yeah.
And the output of a sprint is what we call the sprint backlog. So the sprint backlog means we take items from the product backlog and we put it in another separate small compartment called the sprint backlog.
Okay.
And these are called artifacts. So artifacts are just like, we call it documents. This is an artifact. Increment is an output that we do, right? It's called an artifact. Sprint backlog is an artifact. Product backlog is an artifact. Sprint backlog is an artifact. Artifact is like documentation. It's like
artifacts.
Yes, artifact.
Like documentation.
Yes. So there are 3 main artifacts in Scrum, right? The increment, product backlog, and the sprint backlog.
The increment, product backlog, and the sprint backlog.
So that's a question that you probably come across even in an interview. What are Scrum artifacts?
Yeah, 3 main what? 3 main artifacts?
Yes.
In Scrum.
Yes. So we have the product backlog, the sprint backlog, and the increment. Remember, the increment is what we are releasing, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So at a higher level, you may have the program backlog, the portfolio backlog, but it's just more like, how can I say? It's more like a product, it's a product either at the finished stage or the raw material phase. That's artifact.
That is more, come again, please.
No, I'm just explaining. That's not a definition. Artifact is artifact. Artifact is more like, what are we building? Or where are we taking the information from?
Okay.
What are we reviewing? So it's something that you can review, right? In the spring, you can review the spring backlog to know what they are doing. In a product, you can review the product backlog to know what you're doing. At the end of the sprint, you can review the increment to know what they're doing. At the level of the program, you can review the program backlog. At the level of the portfolio, you can review the portfolio backlog. So those are artifacts.
Okay, I think like my own understanding, it should be like a safe place where the all availables are being kept for any.
Perfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Perfect. All right. Now, daily stand-up. Daily stand-up, what are we doing? Remember, when we plan, we're planning what we want to do.
Okay.
So for the daily stand-up, we are inspecting what we plan to do.
Okay.
15 minutes, no more than 15 minutes. If someone have a question about what they're doing, they have challenges, we do what we call post-Scrum. We'll note it down, and then we do after Scrum meeting.
Okay.
Yes. Then, can we cancel a sprint? And we were planning to work in 2 weeks, and can we cancel it?
No.
Yes.
No. We
Yes.
can cancel? Okay.
We can cancel only when the goal become obsolete, which
Okay.
means that we can no longer proceed for some reason.
Okay.
Maybe the reason might be like, maybe the customer call and say, you know what, I changed my mind, I don't want the project again. Right? Then
yeah,
we'll stop work. You see, when we cancel, we review what has been done. Then any other stuff that has not been done, we send it back to the product backlog.
okay.
We can also cancel, let's say that we have a major dependency. Let's use our example of building the phone. Let's say if we are unable to build the screen, no other work can be done again. And then we don't have material to build the screen. It means we cannot progress. So in that case, the product owner will cancel the sprint. Maybe put it on hold until when we can do, until when they can bring out all the material that we can help us continue working again. Or if the goal was to build the screen, and when we started working on it, we realized that so many stuff were not taken into consideration, that sprint can be canceled, and then they go back to planning again to see what else they can do. So it's the role of the product owner to cancel it.
Okay.
Because the product owner represents what? The stakeholder. Okay.
So
the product,
the sprint can only be cancelled by the product owner, right?
yes. So the product owner owns the product backlog.
Okay.
The developer owns the sprint backlog. So when they're working on the sprint, the developer have major control over the sprint backlog because they're the one working on it. The product owner only deliver what are the requirements. The developer work on the requirement. So when they're working on the requirement, what they don't understand, they ask the product owner for clarification.
Okay.
And they help the product owner to see what is missing and what is not missing. You as a Scrum Master, you're just observing. And if they run into challenge of collaboration or communication, you help them.
Okay.
Okay. Sprint review. You see, apart from the project team, we're inviting stakeholders. What are we reviewing? The increment, right?
Yeah.
And the product owner say what was done. The Scrum team demo, feedback, and release. So the product owner say, okay, Mr. Customer, you know, I've been talking with you all this while. This is exactly what we're doing. I want my team to show you how they did it. Then the development team demo. Then now we give opportunity for the stakeholder to give their feedback. Opportunity market next release, right? Review, product backlog. We'll now see if based on the feedback to see if we need to change anything from the product backlog. We need to revise. If all our releases are accepted, then we don't need to touch it, right? We just move ahead. So what you also need to pay attention on is on the timing for all the events. So see, maximum is 4 hours. This is for 1 month. So if we're doing it 2 weeks, maximum is 2 hours. In most cases, it will not even have to take up to 1 hour. They're just giving you maximum.
So if you are doing the 2 weeks, maximum is 4 hours. Yeah.
2 hours. This is for
2
1
hours?
month. Yes.
For spring review.
Spring review. Maximum spring planning, 8 hours.
8 hours.
For 1 month. 2 weeks, 4 hours. Maximum spring review, 4 hours, 1 month. 2 weeks of spring, 2 hours, right? And then spring retrospective. Now we spoke about spring backlog. Spring backlog is at backlog refinement is as needed. Daily Scrum 15 minutes, not more than 15 minutes. Okay. Retrospective, 1 month is 3 hours, 2 weeks, 1 hour, 15 minutes. So you need to know this time, your fingertips.
Retrospective is 3 hours for 1 month?
3 hours for 1 month, which means the 2 week standard is 1 hour, 1 hour, 30 minutes.
Okay.
And what do we do in a retrospective? Inspect last spring, people, relationship, process, and tools. Identify main item, what went where, what we can improve, and then we'll look what action we can take to improve as a team.
Okay.
Backlog refinement is as needed. All right, it can occur at any point. But as a team, you can have a time, maybe 1 hour every week, 1 hour, 2 weeks, depending on how complicated the project you're working on. So it's needed, it's an ongoing process.
So 1 month is 2 weeks, it's a 1 hour?
No, it doesn't have a time frame.
Okay.
As needed.
Okay.
But it's recommended that you spend 1 hour. For instance, in an interview, you can say, okay, we normally put aside 1 hour every week to do that. So that's just like a practical example of what we do. We put aside 1 hour every 2 weeks to do that in my team.
Okay, to do refinement, the backlog refinement.
Yes. And it helps you to make sure that things are ready before you're planning.
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, these are just other technical aspects. Multiple teams can be working on one product.
Okay.
Yes. In that case, they will have only one product owner because you need only one person to communicate to the customer, right?
Yeah.
But they'll have 2 different Scrum Masters. So you as a Scrum Master, it's not advisable that you facilitate 2 teams working on the same project.
Okay.
Yes. Some companies may allow you to do that, but Scrum doesn't support that.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's advisable to get 2 Scrum Masters.
Yeah, if there are 2 teams working on the same project, each team should have its own Scrum Master. Right?
Okay.
And all the teams should have one definition of done. So definition of done simply means that how are we going to know that this work has been completed?
Definition of what?
Definition of done.
Okay, of done. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
I've seen it.
And it's guided by acceptance criteria.
So okay, there's a general accepted guidance that is used to know that a product is done.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And then this is an example of a product backlog, right?
Yeah.
These are the different items that need to be developed. And then you have story points that are assigned to each of the items, right? Let's say we'll go back to our phone. If we want to build a frame, maybe build the right angle, the left angle, the center support, and all of that. And this can be divided into different stories, which means building the frame can have like about 5 to-do lists. And each of the to-do lists, we are going to assign it a story point, which is an estimate, right? A story point simply is not, it doesn't mean that we're going to use 12 hours or we're going to use 25 hours or so. Story points are assigned based on what we call Fibonacci sequence. A Fibonacci sequence is a relative estimate of how easy it is to do something. Let's say if I have maybe year 9 and year 15, this is a clear indication that this activity might require twice as much effort as this.
Yeah.
Yes.
Please, can you just come again? I didn't really follow up.
Okay. So when we have our to-do list, right?
Okay.
During the spring planning, we estimate what we can do.
Okay.
And when we estimate what we can do, we assign story point to it.
Okay.
So a story point is a weight using the Fibonacci sequence. Fibonacci sequence is a series of numbers from 0, half, 2, 3, 8, 13, 40, 100, right?
Okay.
And the series of numbers that help you to understand how easy or how difficult can this story be estimated? Or can this story be completed?
Okay.
So if we're talking on this story, and then the development team say, oh, I think it has a story point of 2, right? It means that, oh, it doesn't require much. Okay. And they work on this, say, oh, it has a story point, we can give it a weight of 12. Which means that if you have one at 2, you have the other at 12, it means the one at 12 requires at least 6 times more effort to do it compared to the one at 2, right?
Yeah.
So when we do it, someone will come up with a number, right?
Yeah.
All the work that was planned to be done within that period, you may have a number, let's say 50.
Yeah.
If you add all of this, that number is called the velocity. Velocity is like, this is how much we can do.
Okay, so how did the number come about? This the story, the number, this 212, and how do you come out with that number?
Okay.
Just an estimate?
These are calculated number based on Fibonacci sequence. Okay. Yeah. So when you look at the video on I think there should be video on story pointing, you will come across how to write a story and how to assign a story point. Okay. So story point are assigned. It's a steady number in a system that has already been calculated. Okay. That's why it's called a Fibonacci sequence. Okay. And that number is used to assign how easy or how difficult a task can be. Okay. So we pick out the number from a series of sequence which has been programmed by Fibonacci. Fibonacci is a system. Yeah. Yes. So these numbers are not just randomly picked. They're based on that system to say, okay, we can give a story point 1 is half 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13. So it's a sequence.
I thought it was what's the one is based. Well, I thought it was based on voting. That is, they said, okay, how many can you give this story?
Yeah, it's based on voting, but this is how it happens. When we pick up this story point, and you as a Scrum Master say, okay, is this story point clear? Maybe developer A say, oh no, I need to understand if we're building it with the S frame or the Y frame. So they clarify themselves. Okay. Then you ask everyone to give a number. to vote with a number.
Yeah.
Now, if let's say for you to come with this number 15, everyone need to agree that it's a 15.
15, okay.
So
Yeah.
if someone says a 2, another says a 20, another say it means.
Yeah.
So the voting only help them to come out with, to be in one accord.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. And then when the work start going, this is when you start up your sprint. Look here. Now, this is the work that you plan to do, right?
Yeah.
When they plan this work, after planning, you see here, start sprint.
Yeah.
Yes, this point will be visible. You click start. Immediately you click start, it's going to pull your current sprint will be presented in this order. Now, all the work will be at this first page created. When they start working on it, everyone is going to put their story to in development, right?
Okay.
And then if I finish working on this, I'll put to be corrected.
Okay.
And this person finished to be tested. This person finished successfully tested, which means it's done.
Okay.
If let's say this was just a story point of 2, and I can do it within the day, when I move it all through this sequence, I'm going to go back here and pick another item and drag it and start working on it.
Okay.
So this is what helps you now in your daily stand-up to inspect how the progress of the work is going.
Okay. Okay.
And we are hoping that by the end of our spring, they have moved everything from here to successfully tested. And this is what will be reviewed.
Okay.
And yeah, this is it. So we have the spring backlog. Now, okay. The spring backlog, it's like a list of all the items we need to do, right?
All the stories.
All the stories, all the product, everything is
product. Okay.
spring backlog. And the spring backlog, futures, defect, technical work, knowledge acquisition, everything, user story and enabler story, it's in the spring backlog. Every information that's going to help us, we put it here, right? Okay. Now you realize that only the futures will be expanded to user stories.
Okay.
And user cases and free-form tests. But the defect and the technical work and the knowledge acquisition are just there to give us more clarity.
Okay.
Perfect. And the spring backlog is just what we have picked to do within that specific sprint. And normally have to-do list in progress done. As simple as that.
Okay.
That is all about Scrum.
Okay. Thank you so much. In fact, I'm really glad I was able to go through this class. Okay. And it was a good one.
Perfect. So when you go now through the videos, it's going to be easy for you to understand.
Okay. Yeah, I have to now go through the video and then to pick a lot of stuff that we've spoken on and the one that I've been jotting to. Then you say you're going to give me the a website where to get the practice question because I want to start practicing now.
Yes, I'll share it with you.
Yeah, I really appreciate that.
All right, perfect.